The date was December 4th, 1971. The place was Longerwala, a desolate outpost in the Thar Desert. A biting wind, cold and persistent, scoured the sand dunes. Perched precariously on a sandy ridge sat a small, isolated company of Indian soldiers. They were men of the 23rd Battalion, Punjab Regiment, a company. In total, they numbered just 120 souls. Their commander, Major Kuldip Singh Chandpuri, a man of quiet determination. They were the very edge of India's defensive line, a fragile tripwire. Across the border, a formidable Pakistani force was on the move. This was no mere probing action, it was a juggernaut. The 51st Infantry Brigade, the 22nd Cavalry Regiment, an overwhelming force of approximately 2,000 infantrymen. They were accompanied by a steel fist of more than 40 tanks, American-made M47 patterns, Chinese Type 59s. Their objective: slice through India's soft underbelly, seize the road to Ramgarh, and capture the airbase and city of Jaisalmer. Pakistani intelligence had said Longerwala was negligible and that Jaisalmer's airbase had no immediate air support. That assumption was a catastrophic error. The Indian post was improvised and meager. Their arsenal was modest. Bren light machine guns, mortars, personal rifles. They had no tanks of their own, no heavy artillery to call upon. Their only serious anti-tank weapons were two jeep-mounted 106mm M40 recoilless rifles. They were utterly alone. Reinforcements were many grueling hours away. On that fateful night, the desert's silence was broken. A border patrol led by Lieutenant Dharamveer Ban detected an unfamiliar sound, a deep, guttural rumble, the mechanical growl of heavy engines, the sound of an army on the march. "They are coming." Major Chandpuri relayed the report, requesting reinforcements and air support. The reply was grim: no ground reinforcements before dawn. Air support impossible until first light. Chandpuri was given two options: withdrawal or stand and fight. His orders: hold the post. Fight to the last man, to the last round. The Longerwala post was an anvil, a fixed point of resistance upon which an enemy might be broken. Its strength did not lie in fortifications or firepower, but in its geography. The post sat atop a commanding sand dune, a solitary high point in an otherwise flat and featureless expanse. This elevation granted his men a crucial advantage: a clear and uninterrupted field of fire across the approaches from the border. Any attacking force would have to advance uphill, exposed to the defenders' guns for the entire duration of their assault. The dune transformed his small company from a vulnerable huddle into a veritable fortress of sand, allowing them to see and engage the enemy long before they could bring their own weapons to bear effectively. The defensive layout was a masterclass in using limited resources to maximum effect. Chandpuri did not concentrate his men in a single, vulnerable cluster. Instead, he dispersed them across the dune's crest and forward slopes in a well-sited network of trenches and bunkers. This dispersal made it difficult for the attackers to suppress his entire force with artillery or machine gun fire. He placed his machine gun nests to create interlocking fields of fire, ensuring that any enemy infantry attempting to assault the position would be caught in a deadly crossfire. The mortars were positioned behind the crest, able to lob their high-explosive shells onto the attackers as they massed or became bogged down. Every position was chosen to maximize observation and mutual support, turning the entire dune into a cohesive and deadly defensive system. The linchpins of this defense, the weapons that gave the Indians a fighting chance against the Pakistani armor, were the two M40 recoilless rifles. These were not sophisticated guided missiles, but simple, powerful guns that fired a heavy anti-tank shell. Chandpuri placed them in carefully selected positions on the dune, where they had panoramic views of the most likely avenues of tank approach. The crews were instructed to camouflage their positions meticulously, to hold their fire until the last possible moment, and to make every single shot count. Ammunition was severely limited. There was no room for error, no opportunity for speculative firing. The final, and perhaps most significant element of the defense, was not a weapon or a fortification. but the character of the commander himself. As the news of the approaching Pakistani column spread, an understandable fear rippled through the garrison. It was in this moment that Major Chanpuri's leadership proved decisive. The Pakistani plan, codenamed Operation Chengiz Khan, was born of bold ambition and dangerous overconfidence. The strategic objective was to strike deep and fast into Indian territory, bypass stronger fortified positions to the north and to the south. Longewala was seen as a minor irritation on the direct route to Jaisalmer. It was a classic blitzkrieg concept, reliant on speed, surprise, and overwhelming force. This grand strategy, however, was built upon a foundation of flawed intelligence and arrogant assumptions. They correctly identified the lack of heavy fortifications, but failed to appreciate the tactical advantages of the terrain. More critically, their intelligence services had declared that the Jaisalmer airbase was not operational and posed no immediate threat. They believed the Indian Air Force had moved its Hawker Hunter fighter jets further east, out of range. The entire operation was predicated on achieving its objectives before India could bring its superior air power into play, a race against a clock that was already counting down to zero. The commanders of the 22nd Cavalry and 51st Infantry Brigade opted for a direct frontal assault, with little consideration for flanking or a preparatory bombardment. They believed sheer armor would steamroll the post in minutes. The Pakistani column advanced at night with their headlights on, a violation of tactical doctrine. Furthermore, they failed to conduct adequate route reconnaissance for their heavy tanks. The Thar Desert is not a uniform billiard table of hard-packed sand. It is a treacherous landscape of soft dunes and shifting sandy patches where a 40-ton tank can easily become mired. Around midnight, the lead elements reached the outer perimeter of Longewala. Their tracks crunched over a single, unassuming strand of barbed wire. For the Pakistani tank commanders, peering through the gloom, it was an ominous sign. In doctrine, barbed wire often marks the outer edge of a minefield. The advance halted. Sappers arrived, sweeping the sand with detectors. There was no minefield, only clear, empty sand. When the Pakistani tanks, finally given the all-clear by their engineers, lurched forward once more, they were met with a disciplined and unnerving silence. Major Chanpuri had issued the strictest orders: hold your fire. He knew their limited ammunition meant that every shot had to be a killing blow. He needed the tanks to enter the optimal killing zone for his recoilless rifles: 300 meters, 400 meters. The gunners could guarantee a hit. The command finally came. Lead tanks crossed the pre-designated range. Chanpuri gave the order to fire. Fire! 2 streaks of flame erupted from the dune as the RCL crews engaged. The first round struck a pattern squarely on its side armor. A massive explosion ripped the vehicle apart. A column of fire shot into the night, illuminating the battlefield. The burning tank became a macabre beacon, silhouetting the other tanks. A second tank was hit. Ammunition cooked off in secondary explosions. The destruction of the lead tanks plunged the column into chaos. Single-file approach turned into a deadly bottleneck. Burning wrecks blocked the path. Following tanks tried to maneuver around them. Tanks swerved off the hard track, treads churning into soft sand. Engines screamed as vehicles bogged down, tracks spinning uselessly. The spearhead degenerated into a disorganized cluster of immobilized targets. Throughout the night, the battle developed a deadly rhythm. RCL crews, coached by Subedar Ratan Singh, would fire, destroy a target, quickly shift their jeep to a new pre-planned firing position. Indian mortars rained shells where infantry tried to dismount and organize an assault. Pakistani return fire was furious but inaccurate. Blinded by darkness and muzzle flashes, their shells and MG fire sailed over Indian positions. For 5 long hours, Chanpuri's 120 men held off an entire brigade. Guile, discipline, the terrain. They had turned their sandy anvil into a butcher's block. As the first faint streaks of grey began to lighten the eastern horizon, the exhausted defenders on the dune knew their ordeal was entering its final, decisive phase. They had survived the night. a feat that had seemed impossible just hours before. They had held their ground, inflicted serious losses, bought time. For the Pakistani forces, now scattered and disorganized below the dune, the coming of dawn was not a sign of hope, but a harbinger of doom. Their catastrophic failure to overrun the post during the night meant their entire force was now caught in the open, exposed and vulnerable, under a sky that was about to belong to the Indian Air Force. At the Jaisalmer Air Base, the pilots and ground crews of No. 122 Squadron had been on high alert all night. They had listened to the desperate radio calls from Longawala, forced to wait helplessly for the light. As soon as it was safe to fly, the first Hawker Hunter Mark 56A fighter bombers roared into the air. Led by Wing Commander MS Minhi Bawa, they flew low and fast towards the battlefield. The scene that greeted them from the air was astonishing. The desert floor below was littered with dozens of tanks and other vehicles, many bogged down in the sand, others burning, all of them perfect targets. The air attack was brutally swift and devastatingly effective. The Hawker Hunters were armed with T-10 rockets and 30mm Aden cannons, weapons designed specifically for destroying armored vehicles. The tanks, with extra fuel drums often strapped to their exteriors for the long advance to Jaisalmer, proved to be exceptionally vulnerable. Rockets slammed into engine decks and hulls, and the external fuel ignited, turning the tanks into blazing infernos. The 30mm cannon shells could punch through the thinner top armor, wreaking havoc inside. They had no effective mobile anti-aircraft cover, another critical oversight in their planning. They could do little but try to hide or fire uselessly at the jets with small arms. Panic set in. The organized assault of the previous night dissolved into a desperate, chaotic retreat. The hunters flew sortie after sortie throughout the morning, a relentless aerial conveyor belt of destruction. They acted as the hammer, striking the Pakistani forces that had been held fast on Chandpuri's anvil. By noon, the battle was over. The great Pakistani offensive had been shattered. When the smoke cleared, the last fleeing Pakistani soldier had disappeared over the horizon. The scale of the victory at Longawala became starkly apparent. The desert around the post was a graveyard of ambition. The final tally was staggering. Pakistan lost 34 tanks, over 500 other vehicles destroyed or captured, supply trucks destroyed or abandoned, armored personnel carriers destroyed or captured, an estimated 200 Pakistani soldiers killed. In stark contrast, the Indian defenders lost just 2 soldiers, 1 anti-tank jeep destroyed, one of the most lopsided victories in modern military history. Recognition was swift. Major Kuldip Singh Chandpuri awarded the Mahavir Chakra. Other men of A Company received gallantry awards. Subadar Ratan Singh highlighted for directing the RCL guns. Longawala became a powerful symbol for the nation, a testament to courage, leadership, and tactical ingenuity. The story entered military textbooks and popular culture. The battle offers clear lessons. Firstly, leadership, Major Chandpuri's calm resolve. Secondly, terrain, defenders used high ground. Thirdly, air power, the Indian Air Force's decisive role. Finally, small errors by the attackers stacked into disaster. Pakistan's failure to respect the terrain, flawed intelligence, hesitation at the phantom minefield. The story of Longawala is a masterclass in defensive warfare, using terrain and the decisive impact of air power. So what do you think was the biggest factor in this incredible victory? Was it Major Chandpuri's leadership, Pakistan's strategic blunders, or the timely arrival of the Air Force? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story as inspiring as we do, make sure to like this video, share your thoughts by commenting below, and please do not forget to subscribe to Urban Monk Ness channel and share this video with others. The Battle of Longawala is more than just a military victory. It's a saga of the human spirit. It's a story of what happens when 120 soldiers, facing an army, are told to fight to the last man. And through sheer grit and tactical genius, they decide to win instead. They didn't just hold the line. They created a legend that will echo through history forever. A shining example of how courage can humiliate an army and inspire a nation. As we reflect on the factors, What was the single most decisive factor